some electronic music beef, which is always interesting to see, because for the most part, these people are just arguing over nothing really, because they're all rich and famous in their own regard. But it's great to see different levels of, well, different opinions actually from different people in the industry, and to see kind of where their audience kind of falls in it and their kind of loyalty. So weird beef in that regard. We've got CamelPhat v Seth Troxler. Now, I think if you're familiar with Seth Troxler and you're a fan of Seth Troxler and everything he kind of represents, you will know that he's long had a big disdain, or he's long had a very he's had a reputation for hating EDM for a while, right? But I wouldn't necessarily say CamelPhat EDM. I'd say they probably fall under the kind of tech house umbrella. But then in Seth Troxler's defense, he might say modern, especially contemporary tech house that you see nowadays, especially the type of stuff that, you know, is very popular with the kind of Essex crew, he might think that falls into the EDM umbrella too, because for the most part it doesn't seem as if there's any kind of love or appreciation for music. It's just like a scene thing, which is not a bad thing. I think I always get the impression some of my mates that I kind of grew up with in East London, who have now kind of grown up and maybe matured and evolved into liking stuff like tech house, they probably wouldn't have liked it when I was in school. I definitely didn't. They like it more so because it's quite social, right? You can go and see a big DJ play at Printworks, at 93 Feet East, at these, you know, whatever random festivals there may be that they go to. You can buy a big, most of those festivals, most of those nights do group discounts. A lot of mates can turn out. The music is quite, you know, groovy. It kind of can cover a whole remit of sounds for the most part. I get the appeal with the Essex crew. Honestly, I get the appeal. It's a lot more appealing to go to a tech house night than it would be to go to a night, you know, a real queer, Pacific aggressive techno night at somewhere like Grease Muller. I understand, right? I don't think those crowds work in the same place. I don't think you could take a club kid from Grease Muller and put them into a 93 Feet East in the rave and think it's going to work, and I don't think you could do it vice versa. That's perfectly fine. They can operate in different areas. But I think the thing that people are not understanding about Seth, which I like about him, especially in the era of have you ever spoken to a friend and asked them what music they like? Sorry. And for the most part, even I have the tendency to, I can sometimes tend to say, you know, I like most things, especially being a DJ myself. I tend to try to listen to everything, give everything a chance, just to make sure I'm not missing out on any great music, because I have these, you know, preconceived ideas. But it's quite admirable for someone in Seth Troxler's position to be like, you know what, I just don't like that. I just don't like you. I just don't like this sound. I just don't like that scene. Just to be out flat out with it. Nothing against it, just to say I don't like it. And I think there needs to be more of that in the electronic music space. I think the idea that everyone's all kumbaya and friendly is fake, because I know for the most part, like in most scenes, like in most communities, like in most subcultures, when they're all, you know, in the safety of, you know, their own homes, or they're around people that they trust, I'm sure they're all bitching and moaning about people that they don't rate, or parties they thought were horrible, or promoters that are janky. It happens all the time. So to expect them to like not say nothing doesn't make any sense. And also I think it comes from a realer place, because Seth Troxler is as successful, or probably as, you know, maybe on paper as successful as some of these other contemporary EDM dudes. Maybe it's not as flashy with his money as some of those guys are, but you know, everyone can do what they want with their money. But I think it comes from a realer place, because Seth Troxler is also successful. So you have to take what he says with some kind of value to it. You know, it has some kind of weight to what he's saying. So anyway, let's kind of give a rundown with the whole events. This website called EDM.com broke it down, and supposedly Eric Prydz jumped in as well to kind of defend these boys, because obviously I'm assuming he probably had some smoke for Seth Troxler because of what he said previously regarding the EDM scene. But let's go through the whole series of events. Eric Prydz defends CamelPhat after critical tweets from Seth Troxler. The post is the following: fans in the house and tech house world have been closely following, debating and making memes about the CamelPhat controversy since it began on Saturday night. Seth Troxler, the DJ behind the Instagram post that kicked off the debate, made a series of social media posts critical of CamelPhat's music. So this is it, right? This is the post that they're talking about. So Seth Troxler said the following. This is on his Instagram stories, I'm imagining, right? He posted an image that says, "The Matrix is broken, everyone has gone numb." Or everyone's gone dumb, sorry, because he went on CamelPhat's profile and it says in their bio that they're Grammy nominated, Ivor Novello nominated, and Beatport's biggest selling artist. And he's put a circle around and he put "kill me," and he's got a picture of some kid. Looks like he's hung himself, or is that no? Just like a hand up. Looks like he hung himself. So clearly he's not a fan, right? So going back to the article, this led to widespread debate among other producers and fans alike. A notable reply came from Eric Prydz, caught wind of the controversy and weighed in. In a series of tweets, Prydz both came to defense of the British duo, as well as the call upon Troxler to use Twitter and his music to show them what he can. Okay, so this is Eric Prydz's defense of CamelPhat, which I thought was a bit weak, but here's what he said. Hey, Seth Troxler, I know what you're on about. The mass ain't liking what you play. That's what underground is. You need to use your supremacy and your amazingness to learn these kids that CamelPhat are crap and that you and your mentors are the superior and the answer. So please, I'm waiting. Use your music and this Twitter platform to show us what we've all been missing. Show me your recent music that you will outlive Cola or Constellations. I'm pretty sure those are different tunes that they've made. Okay, cool, no problem. So first of all, I think I'm a Seth Troxler fanboy, right? Like everyone knows that. Most of my friends know that. I think during the heydays of Seth Troxler, when he had the little twisty mustache and he had the afro, I completely copied his style in that regard. I modeled kind of half of my kind of come up based on him. I was trying to get a record store job because of the interview he gave because of how his come up was working in a record store and doing that sort of malarkey. I tried to stick with vinyl for a long time because he was playing vinyl, then we switched to USB, I switched to USB. So I'm a big fan of Seth Troxler. Always been a big fan of his. But I think the post was shitty. I think when he makes comments in public about EDM or on panel discussions and stuff, that's fair. I think when people are speaking about EDM or speaking about the future of electronic music and they come over to him and he kind of gives his candid answer, I'm sure most people don't have a problem with it, even though it probably might be annoying to the artists that have been thrown under the bus, whether it's Skrillex, whether it's, you know, whoever it may be. I'm sure they are getting annoyed by it, but if someone's asking his opinion, then it's pretty fair. But to come out of the blue on a Saturday night and just completely hammer these guys, it seems like he was, you know, he stumbled upon their profile one time during a night of Twitter scrolling. I think that's a bit out of order. I don't think that's cool. Again, I just think electronic music, we're at a point in electronic music where everybody is able to make a career in their own little respective scenes without intruding on others. No one's taking each other's fans. I don't think Seth Troxler's fans even overlap with CamelPhat fans at all. I wouldn't imagine so. And if they do, then fair play. But I don't think they are choosing sides. They don't mind going to a Seth Troxler night and they don't mind going to a CamelPhat event. They both kind of operate in different fields and get money in their own sort of ways. I don't really see where the resentment will come from, because I think for the most part, resentment from fellow artists, I know for myself on the come up as being a, you know, underground DJ, kind of coming on my way up the ladder. Some of the resentment that I might have had previously would come from the idea that the person that's quote unquote above me on paper or with the amount of bookings they have hasn't been in the game as long as I have, or hasn't been putting in the work as long as I have, right? That could be a point of resentment. But again, that's not constructive because there are other factors at play. That person might be more commercial viable than me. They might have more contacts than me. They might just be lucky, whatever. There's other things at play as opposed to just if you put these X amount of hours in, you should be X amount of hours forward. That's not how it works. That's not how life works, unfortunately. It's one element of it, right? You have to have the talent. You have to have the work ethic to, you know, survive and to kind of thrive and kind of keep going. But there's other things outside of what's in your control that kind of contribute to your success. So that part of that kind of resentment doesn't really exist because Seth Troxler is successful. He's a big DJ. You know, he's rated very highly on the RA DJ polls back in the day when they were still around. He has an effectively a cult following after some of the interviews that he's done and some of the legendary sets that he's played. And for the most part, all the big DJs out there respect him as a quote unquote DJ, right? No, I was going to say selector because he hates that. So I'm going to say DJ. Everyone respects him as a DJ, and I'm not even counting his producing credits, which are really incredible too. So I don't think he can, I don't think it's fair to kind of say that. But then on the other hand, I also think we shouldn't be surprised. This is Seth Troxler. This is the same guy who, I think I mentioned it in a previous podcast, when he went to what's that festival called? Tomorrowland. Look at his reaction when he goes to Tomorrowland. This is a video from 6 years ago, it looks like, right? Or yeah, 6 years ago? Or 45 years ago? Yeah, 5 years ago. Seth Troxler's at Tomorrowland, and just look how he's reacts to everyone around him.
That stage is crazy.
He absolutely hates it. So he's been quite consistent in his hate for this kind of music, or that's this kind of scene. And when I say scene, I mean the people that go to these events aren't necessarily, I would say personally, they're not necessarily there to hear a particular track or to, you know, get absorbed to new music. They're there because it's an actual event. It's a fun, it's like an adult fun fair. And they kind of, you know, they build Tomorrowland as that anyway. If you've watched the videos of vlogs of people at Tomorrowland, they have like, you know, restaurants there, they have amusement parks, like it's a little village. It's similar maybe to Burning Man in that respect. Like it's fully kitted out. You can just kind of, you know, survive and thrive the entire time that you're there. And if you want to, you can effectively maybe go to Tomorrowland at the entire time and not hear one DJ set. Just kind of, you know, mooch around the scene, go from restaurant to restaurant, go to bar, little hangout, get yourself a massage and just hang out. That's essentially what it is. So I can understand his disdain for it. But if you look at his video, he hates the entire time. He hates it the entire time he's there. Now, why he's there, on one hand, you know, it's debatable, but I think maybe in his defense, he might be like, hey, I was bashing this scene for ages. They wanted me to, they reached out and wanted me to play. It was a good bag. I'm going to go there and play and see what it's about. But, you know, look at him. He just completely hates it the whole time he's there. He's so bewildered by all the mess around him.
It bothers me. Listening
people half interested, not really caring, pyrotechnics, like repetitive sounds, like, and I think that's something a lot of those CamelPhat dudes or a lot of tech house dudes have to take into consideration too. A lot of the stuff they make is very repetitive, like just objectively speaking. I'm not gonna say it's good or bad because everyone enjoys what they enjoy, right? For the most part, I don't know. I can't stand, you know, modern day pop music. Like, you know, I might like, you know, one Taylor Swift track. Apart from that, it's complete garbage, but she's one of the biggest stars in the world. But, you know, objectively, most of her songs sound the same. Same with EDM. Most of it sounds the same.
It really upsets me. I've been calling some of that stuff lately sonic ear rape. He's sonically raping my ears.
Look how pissed off he is. Look at his face. So you got that statement, right? He absolutely hates this. Then you've got another video I found on YouTube where he's asked specifically about his disdain about EDM, and hear what he says.
Talking about music, yesterday during your keynote, you well, I didn't feel frustration, but there was something you told us you didn't like about EDM, about growing the growth of EDM, about EDM going too commercial. Can you tell us something more about that and what you meant with that?
I mean, I think my thing with EDM is the fact that it doesn't seem that anyone really cares about music.
Oh, so I just said that actually. Yeah, there you go.
The main interest isn't music, you know. It's about like flash this, let's do that, let's create a super brand that's like boom, 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 boom. But like, where is the focus on creating just like good music? And
which isn't a bad thing, right? I think as well. Yes, that's where maybe the snobbiness of Seth Troxler comes in, which I don't have a problem with. I think it's quite nice to have people operate on that level who are quite snobby and have a disdain about certain things, right? I just don't like this stuff, but I don't think it needs to be good. I think it does. You don't, those things. I think of my friends I grew up with in school, right? Who are a little bit, I don't know. It's like for the average, they're the average Joe on the road, right? But they want to go out at night, but they don't necessarily want to, because there's no middle ground. Think about it from their point of view. Where's the middle ground between going to a really commercial, horrible club, right? Like maybe Ministry of Sound, and then going to a really underground rave somewhere in a basement somewhere in the middle of Berlin. There's no real middle ground, and the middle ground might come in the form of EDM in some respects and some tech house. That's the middle ground, because you get people that's around you, right, that kind of look like you are from the same sort of scene, same sort of area, same sort of influences, same sort of life experiences, especially from the Essex type people. And it's a bit of a safe space in your regard, because, you know, for the most part, are they going to be fully comfortable in a really progressive queer night with lasers and people with piercings all over their? No, they're probably not going to be comfortable in that place. Are they also going to be comfortable in a place where everyone's doing table service and there's sparklers coming out of bottles? Probably not. So there has to be a middle ground, and I feel like maybe EDM and tech house is the perfect middle ground for them. But I think if you live on either ends of the spectrum, or especially if you're on the underground electronic side of it, especially if you're in the tech house side of it, which is good or which is deemed as acceptable, you will feel as if they are taking your sound and diluting it and then giving it to the masses, which again can be annoying for a creative. But I think in general, there is rarely any cross-pollination. For most of the best nights I've been to that are really underground and serve the actual ravers and people that actually care about the music, it's rare that you get those kind of fly-by-night people who just want to go out on a Saturday night out and hear, you know, big heavy tunes. Not really. It doesn't really happen that way. And I also think sometimes as well, artists can't really control who their fans are, innit? I think maybe Maya Jane Coles may have suffered from it when she blew up, right? She kind of blew up and it suddenly had fans that she probably didn't want to be her fans, and then kind of had to take a bit of a break and step back and, you know, come out with another pseudonym, different kind of artistic direction, just to kind of get rid of that kind of that stink that that kind of commercial hit stink that she had all over. And again, it wasn't her fault at all, right? She just made a banger and it happened to take off.
Like music that is actually in the history of time going to be really remembered. you know, and that's beautiful. You know, like does anyone have the idea of like creating a legacy and leaving some type of beauty behind? You know, I think they're just about getting paid, you know, but that's just my own view. Maybe in their minds, throwing cakes at people is like some deep way of artistic expression. Kind of like, yo, Alex, who's that ginger dude who used to fucking blow up the watermelons? Like Gallagher. You know, Gallagher guy, he's like, hey, I'm Gallagher. I've got a sledgehammer and there's a watermelon. Ooh, who wants it? Oh, no, I'm not gonna. And there's watermelon on your face. Maybe in his mind, he thought that was some deep way of expressing his like emotional frustration with the geopolitical situations of his time. You know, that might be, you know, the cake or the, you know, the stage driving or the fireworks. The fireworks may not really be a pyrotechnic trick that
so
you
much,
pay for to kind of, you know, get some type of wow factor because your music sucks. It might be a, you know, cathartic release of the intentions or the suppressed emotional baggage of that last Britney hears that, you know, I don't even know what they play. I was trying to think of like some pop song that they remixed. I lost myself in like an analogy that I was coming up with off the top of my head, but
anyway, you get the point, right? He absolutely hates electronic music. So I don't really, so he actually hates EDM and all those guys. And I'm not surprised that he's probably getting into the CamelPhat dudes who are probably skirt towards more the tech house side of things. The CamelPhat's reply to it was a bit interesting in that regard. I think for the most part, most of their fans really liked what they had to say and liked what the music kind of put out in that regard. Let's quickly check it. This is CamelPhat's Instagram, and they replied pretty decently, I think, for the most part. I think they realize it from Seth Troxler's point of view that it is basically a taste thing. Seth Troxler just isn't into what they're doing. Let me see if I can find them. They put a post on here that says the support they've had in the last few days has been completely overwhelming from the right across the board, from DJs to promoters, clubbers, and people who I don't even like dance music, especially ours. Thanks very much anyway. It's nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, which is fair, innit? I think for the most part, there has to be a bit of a brotherhood or sisterhood amongst DJs where you just don't attack your own. I think you allow the fans to kind of snipe at each other. I think CamelPhat fans and Seth Troxler fans are allowed to kind of argue over the internet about who has the best music or who's the best DJ. Fair enough. But I think as DJs, I think as producers, I think as creators, I think as participants, people that are contributing to their scenes, to culture in general, you should probably leave each other alone publicly. Again, I'm pretty sure privately in a green room amongst DJs, they obviously bitch and moan about everyone. Everyone does it in every scene. It happens all the time. But I think outwardly, you can't really present that kind of fractured formation because it doesn't help anything because everyone's getting money. All those big brands and sponsors that want to get involved in electronic music now, they're doing it because it's as a whole, electronic music is huge. They're not doing it because one scene's bigger than the other. If anything, some scenes are probably supporting or dragging along other scenes that are probably floundering, right? It's all helping each other come about. I think even the reintroduction of Acid wouldn't be as popular as it is nowadays. And I'm sure some producers from the 90s specifically are getting paid money now for tunes that they made ages ago because of the resurgence of Acid, mostly because of these newer DJs who are in techno playing Acid tracks in order to kind of seem a little bit more cultured and have a bit more musical depth to them. So it's something that seems quite surface something that seems quite surface and a bit naff. It's helping and contributing to the back pocket or the bottom line of people who were really into the culture but didn't make any money when they were making the tunes prior. So sometimes there has to be a bit of give and take in that regard. It continues. He went back and forth with some guy that was talking a bit of rubbish, but I think the reply back to Seth was pretty well reasoned, I think, in that regard. What did he say here? Something about they were living these head rent free. So I think this might have set him. This might be another kind of subtle dig at Seth Troxler. There's a picture here of Steve Aoki surrounded by the CamelPhat dudes and a couple other people. So it says here, it's all about bringing happiness to people. Doesn't matter what kind of sound you create. Well, that's true, but you know, Steve Aoki has to also understand that he did usher in, you know, the rise of that naff kind of stage diving, cake throwing nonsense that was, you know, for the most part, we can all agree, quite across the board that it's a bit naff, it's a bit hacky. But again, if that's something that he likes and he enjoys, and quite clearly people that get splattered with cake in their face absolutely love it, then fair play to him. But I think that's a little bit of a dig back at Seth because obviously I don't think Seth likes Steve Aoki personally that much. And there's also here a quote back from When they replied back to actually Seth, that was quite interesting. He said, "I'm living in his head rent free." Where was that one? Where is it? Okay, cool. Here we go. Here, right? So Seth says, says, "I find it funny how in the defense of one we gang vilify others. I have made 2 comments in this thread to the 1,000k plus negative comments I have received. I'm sorry I hurt CamelPhat's feelings and they felt necessary to respond. I understand this, but I also have the right to. You suck at apologies," CamelPhat says, "but bring this nonsense to a close. Apology accepted. Each to their own. Totally respect your opinion and your views, but a personal attack, on the other hand, will always get that reaction. All the best for 2020." Right? So I think Seth basically kind of rescinded. But again, I think, look, man, we'll have our role to play. I don't think it's I don't think any music is bad or good. I just, for my reasoning behind most things, I just try to ignore the stuff I don't like. I've always done that. I've never wasted any minutia of minutes or time in my life concentrating on stuff that I don't like. Life is way too short, especially for these guys who operate at the top of the fucking mountain, electronic music, getting paid the big gigs, getting flown around all over the place, have fans adoring them, people buying out all their tunes or remix edits they do. Life is too good to be complaining about what some other dude or guy or girl is doing that you don't necessarily like musically. It's just too short. And again, if he does feel collectively like there's a bit of we're in a bit of a stasis and we're a bit stagnant at the moment, it's all cycles, right? We might be going through a bit of a slump at the moment, but there'll be another cycle where, you know, the birth of quality music will come back around again, or will come back again. And I think that is where we're going to basically get to. I think that's we're seeing that sometimes now, even with I would say maybe an energy back in fashion now. We're seeing less theatrics on the runway and more so a return back to actual, you know, luxury items, very well crafted fashion pieces, the return of quote unquote tailoring. Maybe they're doing away with athletic wear and streetwear influenced stuff and kind of going back to the actual core of it, and maybe a response back to, you know, what socio-political stuff that we're going through now at the moment, instead of kind of, you know, bemoaning the political landscape at the moment, creating art or creating something beautiful as a form of escape from what's going on. And I think for the most part, if you see some of those tech house nights, everyone's smiling. Everyone's pinged out of their face, you know, ketted out of their face, coked out of their face. They're having a good time, right? So I think they're having a good time and they're loving it and they like what they're doing and they're supporting their scene. You know, there's loads of producers coming out the woodworks, making, you know, a couple of tracks, putting them up on Beatport and suddenly becoming, you know, top-selling artists. You know, fair enough, with simple 4-bar loops. I'm no fan of it. I wouldn't go to those kind of nights, but get your money, do your thing. It's quite, you know, they're all supportive of each other. They all go out in big groups. They sell out events and stuff. They fly to exotic locations to support their favorite artists. It's all fair, well and good. There's hardly any crossover, really. I can't remember the last time I went to a night out in Berlin and saw someone from Essex or someone that would essentially go to a tech house night. I don't necessarily see them. They have their own parties. We, quote unquote, have our own parties too. But it's all contributing to the greater whole. Electronic music, dance music on a whole. We all kind of benefit from these varying different factions all succeeding at the same time. So the fact of sniping in public like this doesn't really get too far. And again, it's a bit counterintuitive, I would say, in my opinion. But I also appreciate the fact that Seth Troxler is a DJ at that level and he's not afraid to just say out of hand, look, I think that's shit. Simple as. And that's kind of, I kind of have to rate him on that regard. So yeah, the beef is dead now. I think they've squashed it. Everyone's moved on. So it is what it is. But I thought it was funny to just speak about for a couple of minutes.